April 3rd. Tonight's meeting is being broadcast through Milford TV and media from the Milford Daily News, Town Crier, and Patch are in attendance. If anyone would like to make a video or an audio recording of this meeting, you can transmit the meeting through any medium. Please let me know, or any other school committee member know, or a member of the administration. I'd like to welcome our two new committee members, Jen Parsons and Joe Callery. I think you'll both do a great job for us. Thank you. All right. The first agenda item tonight is the reorganization of the board. May I please have a nomination for chairman?
It would be my distinct honor and pleasure to nominate my lifelong friend, Scott Harrison, to serve as chairman of this committee.
And if it's okay with the committee, I'd like to second that motion. Is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion, can we have a vote, please? All in favor? Unanimous in favor. Next is the nomination for vice chair. Could I have a nomination for vice chairman?
Mike, actually was wanting to nominate you based on the work that you and I have done on the Safety and Security Committee and your tenure. I think it would be appropriate to have you sit as the vice chair.
Well, thank you very much. Can I have a second? Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous, none opposed. And with that, I turn the meeting over to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Got it, thank you. All right. Well, thank you, Mike, and thank you to my fellow committee members. You know, we do have one more election that we will need to address as well. And then I'll say a couple of words before we move on here. So, do need to appoint and elect a secretary. So, if we have a motion, Mr. Holland.
I think Bob
Not
would
lifelong
make,
friends. I know where this is headed.
I think Bob would make a spectacular secretary for the Milford School Committee.
Do we have a second?
Thanks.
Mr. Walsh. I couldn't agree with you more. So all in favor of Bob being secretary, again, for your, I think you have the reigning, no, you don't get a vote. But the thanks seem to be elected.
In fact, Eric is not able to join us tonight, so I really am serving the role of secretary tonight.
Yes, so congratulations, Bob,
Thank you very much.
on
I'll
that.
do my
So,
best to serve the post well.
Thank you. You know, certainly want to echo Mike's comments. Thank you once again for the opportunity to serve as your chair. I will certainly do my best to serve the committee well and be a responsible voice. Want to welcome our two newest members. Once again, congratulations on a well-run campaign, and certainly welcome to the committee. We look forward to serving with you as well. I certainly look forward to, as I mentioned, serving as chair and throughout this year really working to continue the great work that goes on in the Milford Public Schools with the education, and really working to continue to streamline and drive clarity and communication between this committee and the community, as well as through all Milford Public Schools and the community and the parents and the children. You know, continuing to enhance the overall educational experience, as we have a very large crowd here gathered tonight, really is a great example of the educational experience that we have here in Milford. Not just within the classroom, but also Milford has always been very well known for its arts. Its artistic and creative students that we have, the music and theater programs, and of course our sports programs. As we continue to create that experience moving forward, potentially with the opportunity to move or expand some of our programs into other grade levels, and really making sure that we're providing that continued overall educational experience and for all of our students here in Milford. So, that being said, thank you, and we'll go ahead and move on. To the next piece on the agenda is the recognition of the Milford Public Schools student recipients of the Boston Scholastic Arts Awards. And wow, do we have quite a crowd here tonight. This is great. So, Bob, I'm gonna let you
Sure.
just kind of talk a little bit.
If Adrian, we want to come up to, you're over there, kind of come up to you have to speak into one of those two microphones over there.
And Adria, I think your partner in crime is here as
I
well.
see Caroline over here, and if you want to come up and join her at the table. And if you just be so kind to share with the committee, I know we recognize this each year, maybe just talk about some of the background of the Boston Globe Scholastic Art Awards. I know we have the student artwork on the wall behind us, and we have something on behalf of the committee. We have a little gift for the students tonight. I know that you probably have something as well, so we'll turn it over to you.
Boston Scholastic Art Competition is a yearly competition, and it really is a competition that honors not only the technical skill that we can see in the artwork that's shown and in the artworks that are awarded in this competition. It's really about honoring students who have the technical skill but are able to really show their personal stories through the visual decisions they're making and the experiences and kind of the backgrounds that they come from. And I think that certainly for the entries that we had this year, that was the major focus, was just trying to identify students that could really communicate through the materials. And I think they've all really successfully done that. I think, whether gold key, silver key, or the honorable mentions that are here tonight, every single one of those pieces really shows the determination and the work ethic to really kind of raise their own bars and, to show their work. It's a really great opportunity to kind of bring them all here tonight and say that we're just so proud of them. If we'd like to call up the gold key winners first, and I have a certificate, so if you could come up to me and we'll get you a certificate, and then you can go see Mr. Tremblay.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, in the past,
Yes.
the recipients and the artists would come up actually and give a little bit of explanation as to
Can we do that?
their artwork. Can we do that as well? I think that actually helps give us a context and a better appreciation.
Perfect.
As artistic as we'd like to all think we are, and understanding the artwork, it might be nice to have a student explanation.
Do you want them to
Yeah.
go up there, or?
Yeah, why don't we actually,
Yeah.
what I would think is from a logistics perspective,
Yeah.
if you want to call out their names
Yeah.
and have them come and kind of one at a time, kind of stand with their artwork and give us a little bit of a background on it, and talk a little bit about it as we go through, and we'll give them their certificates. We've got some gifts for them as well.
Perfect.
Perfect.
Okay. All right, so Sarah Silva, if you could come on up.
While she's walking up, I'd just like to mention Sarah Silva was selected by the Mass Art Ed Association to be their featured artist on their website for the month of April. So if you were to go to massarted.com, Sarah has a link to her artwork and an artist statement in the lower right sidebar.
So Sarah, you have the,
Can someone hand her a microphone?
Yep. Actually, why don't we do this?
Thanks so much.
all right? So I'll play band here. Go ahead.
This is my gold key winning piece, and I made this freshman year, and it was my first year in high school, obviously, and I was nervous because, well, I'm an awkward person, and I wasn't sure where I would fit in, so I didn't get to take a lot of art classes because my schedule was full, so I took one over the summer, which is where I made this, and there were a lot of people I didn't really know yet, so I just made that while I was there to kind of show that even though I was scared, it was just a beginning, and I still had a chance to show people who I was.
Nice job. It's amazing. Sarah. Congratulations.
And I'll call up Felipa Souza. She won the other gold key.
Hi.
So where are we going here?
So this is my gold-winning piece. I made it this year, my sophomore year in high school, and I did it as a project for my art teacher, Miss Delaney. And I was always really into art and drawing and things, but I was never really good at it. So I just kept on trying, and with Miss Delaney's help, I created this piece, and I'm really proud of it.
As you should be. You can't say you're not good at it anymore. Congratulations.
I'll call Zoe Casanelli up. She has a silver key for her self-portrait.
So this is my silver key piece. I call it Through the Looking Glass. I did this as an expressive self-portrait, and basically, you know, how does one approach that idea? I basically just wanted to show like a different side of myself, you know, with the camera always looking for a good something, you know, that can catch somebody's eye and, you know, a certain perspective, and, you know, that's always what I'm looking for. And I'm also kind of getting into photography, so I thought, you know, why not show that I'm a photographer as well, you know.
Excellent. Well, congratulations. Nice job.
Thank you.
And if I could call up Ivy Luke for her portrait, her self-portrait, and she got a silver key for this one.
This one's mine, and we were doing self-portraits, and I decided, usually think of the face, but I decided I'm going to go in a different direction sort of thing, so I figured the opposite end is your feet, and your feet are kind of a personal thing. Everyone has different feet, so that's what I decided to do, use my feet instead, and I thought it was kind of a cool thing.
I'd like to call up Andrew Salzar. Andrew Salzar actually has two pieces that were awarded silver keys, and I'm sure he'll explain them to you.
Where do you want to go, Andrew? Right here?
This is actually like the first big piece I did in high school. It was my sophomore year because I hadn't taken an art class during my freshman year, and it was part of Miss Delaney's art class. It was supposed to be an expressive portrait, and I took a picture of my friend Grace, and I didn't know how it was going to come out because I wasn't too sure of myself as an artist at the time, and it came out pretty good, and it was really a leading decision for me to go into an art career when I get out of high school.
Congratulations. It's fantastic.
If I could call Adeline Thibault. She won a silver key for a portrait of her sister.
Guessing it's this one? All right, there we go.
Well, this is my sister, and I did it sophomore year, and it was just sort of an expressive portrait, and I tried to capture that, and I built it up lightly, layer by layer, and I think the freckles really give it life. You can't really see it that far away, but when you come closer, you can see all like the detail that I really tried hard on it, and I'm proud of it. So.
Excellent. Well, you should be. Congratulations.
And if I could call up Curina Allegrazza. She got an honorable mention for her ceramic piece.
This is my piece. I made it this year, my junior year, and I've never really done ceramics before, and that's what came out of it for the
Wow.
first time.
That's amazing. This was your first time ever doing ceramics?
Yeah.
Wow, very impressive. Congratulations.
And if I could call up Sarah Probert. She won an honorable mention as well.
this is the collage that won. It's of my cat. We were supposed to do an interesting collage of a subject, and I chose my cat because I thought it was kind of more interesting than just a portrait of a person. And I think that it was kind of a last minute decision to do the whiskers and the eyebrow things, and I think it really added an extra dimension to it. I like it.
Congratulations. Nice job.
The rest of the students that I'll list are students that have work that was recognized by the Boston Scholastic, and they were unable to attend tonight. We have Kennedy Travis Sawyer, who won an honorable mention, and Morgan Smith as well. Jessica Gonzalez won a silver key for her 2D piece. Julie Dam won an honorable mention for her ceramic piece. Aaliyah Hilton won an honorable mention for her 2D piece. Michelle Kenny won an honorable mention for her expressive portrait. Alexa Sanchioni won an honorable mention for another expressive portrait. And Andrew Smith won an honorable mention for his abstract painting with inside the body. So,
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Adrian, I'll give you some of the gifts for the students as well before you go, okay? I'll make sure you have those.
okay. To all the students that came tonight, thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate it. It's great to see you here.
Yeah, great job.
Yeah, thank you guys for coming. Thank you so much. Congratulations. Very, very talented. Wonderful job. It's very impressive work. I had a chance to talk to some of the students in advance, and it was
telling us a story. What's the story?
right. Yeah, it's amazing. I think my stick figures are crooked. So certainly not a skill I possess, but wow, just amazing. I'm always in awe.
That's incredible.
So, all right. We'll move on to our next agenda item, and that would be the approval of minutes from our last school committee meeting. All members have had an opportunity to review the minutes. And if I can take a motion. Motion from Mike, second from Dawn. All in favor? All right, 5 in favor, 2 recusals. And we'll move on to announcements and correspondence. Any members have any members?
I do. I just wanted, I know we sort of informally before we came in, I just wanted to formally welcome Jennifer and Joe to the committee. Election season's now over, and so now it's time to relax and settle in. And
I am gonna miss it.
Yes, I am.
So, welcome, and I
Thank you,
hope
Patrick.
we have a wonderful year this year. And I also want to say to the committee as a whole, I think that we've elected a fantastic leadership team with Mike
Thank
and
you.
Scott, and I just know it's going to be a great year. So,
Thank you.
that's all.
Thank you,
Thank you, Patrick. Any other members?
I'll just say to the 2 new members, this is not an easy task. It's pretty difficult, and the worst part is not really knowing. There's not a manual. Joe mentioned this last year when he was elected. It's just a tough thing to get your arms around. So please, I would really encourage the 2 of you to reach out to us as much as possible. We're here for you to answer questions, make this as smooth as possible, get you into the process as quickly as possible so you can really help make good decisions and And I think really as a new member, the hard thing is you don't have the history coming into it. So, for me to be able to, when I came on board, to talk to folks like Pat and Mike, I mean, it was really critical. So just encourage you to keep an open line of communication. And, the one thing that I learned is you can't please everybody with any decision you make in this seat. So you'll quickly find, hey, that there are people that get upset, and some of them are your close friends, and it's a tough thing. So, but anyway, we're all here to support you, as well as you being here to support the community. So, please feel free to reach out whenever you need.
Joe?
Yeah, just to add to that, the two of you have been through a pretty grueling campaign over the last couple of months. But what that did was it created a good dialogue and a good conversation about our schools and about the district. So I'm sure there are things that you picked up along the campaign trail that we should be looking at, that we should be focused on, that you were hearing out there from the residents. So definitely don't hold back. Be outspoken, speak up, and share some of those things that you learned along the way.
Excellent.
Thank you, Joe.
And so once again, congratulations. Again, welcome to the committee. Look forward to, and certainly ask lots of questions. And again, I echo some of Donnie's and Joe's comments as well, which is it's the advantage of having some of the more senior members that are on here, such as Mike and Patrick, who certainly, I think I talked to both of them more in my first year on the committee than I talked to probably members of my family. So so what do we do on this? So certainly look forward to helping. I've had great role models, and we've still got a couple of them here still, and certainly hope to be able to serve in that capacity for you guys as well.
And everyone in this room has been incredibly helpful and supportive already. I assume you had the same experience I did in that regard. So thank you. You've made it an easier path.
Guys are
We're tired though.
Bunch of good people. I mean,
as you know.
just from knowing you guys from sitting here, you guys have all reached out, and it's great. Thank you.
Well, I think a lot of people don't understand when you run for election and there's actually a race. I tell people my first time out of the gate, physically and emotionally, the toughest thing I ever did in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Example, you'd be on Highland Street on a beautiful day, knocking on doors, handing out flyers, go home, you're on a high, pick up the Milford Daily News, there's an article about you, and your emotions go right down. and the weather, you've got all these senior people in town, and they're telling you, the worse the weather, the more you got to get out. But it's so true. I remember I was on South Central Street in a blazing snowstorm, knocked on a door, and a woman opened up. She had 2 little children. She said, "My God, we were just on your website last night. What are you doing out?" And and you go through all that process. So when you get into that chair, you worked hard for it. You deserve it. You do. So great job and welcome.
Thank you.
I do have one last piece of actually correspondence. I actually received a letter in the mail the other day from a Stacy Middle School student. Olivia Marshall sent me a letter with an invitation to the Memorial Day program. So I wanted to certainly thank Olivia for the letter, and I've already put in for the day off, so I'm hoping that I will be able to join. This won't serve as my RSVP, I promise. I will RSVP as well. But certainly thank you for the invite, and thank you for the letter. It was very well written.
It's
so.
It's a pretty impressive program over there.
I've seen it. It is amazing. So the schools always do such a fantastic job with all of those programs. So thank you, Olivia, for the letter, and look forward to seeing you there.
Mr. Chairman, just a couple other announcements. I can't believe it's that time of the year already. We're talking about Memorial Day programs.
I know.
Unbelievable.
It's amazing how fast this goes. School improvement plans are coming up, handbooks, that approval process. It's going to be a pretty exciting time for both of you coming onto the board as well, and welcome formally as well. It's great to have you here. Just a couple of announcements. This is a follow-up from some time back, but I recently, just today, received correspondence from Tom Williamson from the Athletic Boosters, wanting to let us know that the order for the Buy a Brick fundraiser, Phase 1.
Bricks? What bricks?
Right. Here they are. It has been placed. Well, they were waiting for the...
I know.
Right, okay. Just before somebody takes a shot at us on that one.
I've teased him personally as well.
Okay. But he was pleased to report bricks will be arriving in about 45 days. So that will obviously accompany the concession area and the Stoffel Field and such outside. And they'll be taking on orders for the next round once these have been installed. So if you didn't have a chance for a brick buying. Kevin, I don't think you bought a brick, so now that you're with us.
Excited to jump on board.
That's right.
No, and we should honestly state that these bricks will lay the pathway up to our new concession stand from our athletic field. So we're talking about bricks. It's much like you'd see at Milford Hospital or in Boston at the Museum of Science, where they have a pathway paved with people's names. It really is. It's a very good thing. It's a neat thing, and the money goes to a good place.
Absolutely agreed. And there is a brick that's for the Milford School Committee, but I believe it might be stamped for the 2013, 2014. So maybe perhaps you want to do it again and get another one for the 14-15 school year. Huh?
You sure it wasn't 1989?
Yeah.
In all fairness to them, I mean,
they've done a phenomenal
I
job.
just want
They've been
the
waiting.
public to
Yes.
know they came here and explained that they were waiting for the concession stand
They have.
to be built before they laid the bricks.
No,
so as much as we're joking,
And we are trying to sell bricks right now. Just
Yes, we absolutely are.
We're trying to sell bricks.
Yeah,
That's right.
absolutely we are. And the bricks are, it's a great way to, and quite frankly, it's actually not a bad graduation gift. As
Absolutely.
I think about it, it's graduation, believe it or not, is gonna be right around the corner here. What a great graduation gift.
And we'll even
to be
throw in
able
a
to
free
do that,
cup.
so. Bob's sweetening the deal already.
That's right.
Starting to feel a little like
We're
QVC
gonna move these
in here,
bricks.
so.
The cab business.
Up the road. And one other announcement I wanted to make this evening to recognize Judy Dagnes, our nursing director. We had two pretty significant events, one of which is the Healthy Kids Week that she's coordinating with all of our schools. And also she had submitted a grant for 2 additional AED devices, defibrillators, for our schools. And that was a matching grant. And so we thanked also Senator Moore's office for his support of that grant. And we received that grant, so now they'll be paying 50%, I think it's 50% of the cost of two more AEDs for our school department. Firsthand, we've had a life in Milford saved by this device in a hockey game. And so we're really pleased that Judy went out and took that initiative and I'm sure she's busy with the other topic. I won't even bring that up, but this is great that we have this other positive news for Milford as well. So I wanted to recognize Judy publicly for that work. And as far as distributions, Mr. Chairman, at all the places this evening, there's a calendar and also information on the Woodland project. So when we get down further in the agenda, I'll report on both of those items.
Thank you.
That's all I have this evening, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Any other members? All right, move on to invitation to speak. Are there any people present to address the committee? Seeing none, we'll move on to the Milford Public Schools 2014-2015 school calendar. Wow,
Okay.
does that seem
I know, yeah.
amazing to
Here
me
we
that we're
are.
already
If
at
I could
that
ask
point.
everyone to just pull out the calendar in front of you, I just want to walk through a couple of things. We, as a matter of district contractual obligation, we share this with the Teachers Association. They have a review of this as well. It has the stamp of approval from the MTA. But what's on here, really, it follows form from what we've done in past years in terms of the starting of school. We start by contract on the Monday prior to Labor Day. We'll continue to do that. That's worked well for us. What's different, though, and I want to put it out there now, and we're going to follow up with the junior class parents in particular, because historically the graduation for Milford schools is the first Sunday in June. And if you'll see in 2015, that graduation actually is the 31st of May. So for people who may have already booked their tents or called to leave us for food for 2015, and there's probably people who've done that in Milford, don't make it for the first Sunday in June. It's going to be for the last Sunday in May. That date lines up, obviously gives us the right number of days. It also allows us to to have the seniors out of the building for MCAS, which follows that next week. So it's really important that the seniors kind of move off to getting ready for college or going to work and whatever they're going to be doing, and freeing up the school and having a nice quiet place for our students to take the MCAS test. It also allows us to have senior week not happening during MCAS week, which is really another distraction. So for all of those reasons, we've also reviewed this calendar. Rabbi Mendy has been a good friend of the school department. We reviewed that to make sure that we're sensitive to the Jewish holidays and making sure, and in fact, we've went one step further this year, and I do want to publicly apologize for any school events that have been scheduled during Passover or times where there's religious observations. We did our best to work around that. It's with so many activities happening in the school calendar, it sometimes can happen where we'll schedule an event when we probably shouldn't. And some of the parents have rightly called us on that. We did for the 2014-2015 year, with support of Rabbi Mendy, block off in the calendar, in our actual facilities calendar, those dates, so that we block events being scheduled at all. So we're actually taking it to the next level for the 2014-2015 school year. This has been reviewed by the Milford High School, considering AP exams, finals, the proms, graduation, obviously, and MCAS. Other than that, we've completely vetted this, but if you want to just take a look just for a couple of minutes here, I know you're seeing this really for the first time this evening, but I would like to ask for you to approve it so we can get this published and so people can plan. And certainly if there is a need for us to change something along the way, the committee reserves that right at any point to go back and modify the calendar.
But the information, Bob, on this document is accurate. There's nothing that we need to change, or this is all changed.
Yeah, this is fully compliant with the number of school days, the number of days that the seniors can be out of school relative to what the state allows us.
Okay.
The April vacation weeks that line up appropriately with the Massachusetts holidays, all of that's been vetted. The school committee meetings, I think what we did do is we set a school committee meeting, bear with me one second, on July 24th, and did not set one in August. So those are shown by shaded,
Bold
I'm
black.
sorry, bold italicized. So on July 24th, you'll see is the first date with no meeting in August. Certainly, if the committee feels we should have a meeting in August instead of July, and as we get closer to that, you can determine that. But for right now, following what we did, I guess, in past years. And then we still did typically the first and the third Thursday of each month, with some exceptions there, as you'll see throughout the calendar.
Bob,
Yes.
has anybody ever discussed or looked into doing what Taunton did, and that is eliminating February and April vacation and bringing it into one somewhere in the spring to alleviate the issues towards the end of the year, which, I mean, this is a perfect example. I mean, we were lucky, even though we had the god-awful winter that we have had, that we didn't have a lot of cancellations. I mean, good job on your part for that, right?
Yeah.
But it seems like every year it's always, what are we gonna do? And we're running into issues. And you know, I thought once Taunton did that, we'd at least have a conversation or something around it, and we didn't. And I'm not saying I'm for it or against it. I just thought it was an interesting thing. I don't know if like even the staff has interest in doing something like that, or if there's benefits to it. I don't really know, but I thought where it has been done, and you know, maybe not next year, but I mean maybe for the following year we could look into that as a possibility to free up some time towards the end of the year, just in case we ever had an overflow situation, right?
It's interesting you bring that up. This year in particular, we've had some years with the snow cancellations. This year, if you think back to the wintertime, you know, which doesn't seem like it was that long ago, a couple days ago.
Yesterday.
Like
Don't
yesterday.
wanna.
Around the Christmas break, we had that, it was a Thursday, Friday to return, and the weather was questionable, so people canceled Thursday, and then all of a sudden it became convenient, well, Thursday's canceled, might as well just cancel Friday, why heat up the buildings? And that set off sort of this, already a problem without really being in the snow season, already being 2 days in many school districts. We did come back on, I think on one of those days, if I recall. So it has been a problem, and it's been discussed. In fact, Mendon Upton, where I live in Mendon, the superintendent there did put a survey out to the staff and to families and had an interesting response. We could certainly do that in Milford and get a sort of a temperature of what this community, both the teacher side and the parents might like to do. It certainly is within this committee's discretion, even though we call it sort of the state school vacation week, Massachusetts school vacation week. It's really not. It's by district. But no one's really jumped out there that I'm aware of yet and said, hey, we're gonna cancel February and April and do a March 1 week instead and be out of school earlier in June. That's certainly a possibility. And so if the school committee wanted to explore that.
Taunton did do that, I believe.
Did they actually do it?
I think they were exploring it.
Were they exploring it?
Yeah, I'm not aware of anybody that's actually sort of pulled the trigger on that.
I think they're doing the same thing. I think they're actually polling teachers and,
Yeah.
and asking some questions. I don't know that they've actually made a judgment on that, but I think it's probably
If it's
worth.
something the committee wants to entertain, I'm certainly happy to put together for a future meeting, next meeting, and give a survey draft for the committee to look at and see if you like the idea. And we can put it out to parents and get feedback and see what the pulse is on
And
it.
it seems like we have a year to look
Oh, yeah.
into it and evaluate it,
So use next year and
Yeah.
for the 15-16 school year and just see.
I
if
think it
there's-
would be interesting. And if it's something that the community wants, then, you know, I'd certainly be behind it.
Yeah, and that's gonna be the key to it, is getting the community buy-in.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
If it's overwhelmingly supportive, then it's definitely something we should look into, but if
Yep.
it's a mixed bag, then.
Framingham did go to that model a few years back, and they tried it 1 year, and they
They
ended up
did.
going back to the more traditional model. But I heard your superintendent on the radio actually talking about the idea of getting a lot of communities on board, because sometimes people get nervous if it's just one community kind of out there by themselves.
Right.
And then I thought, well, why? Why does that matter? But then they talked about ideas about childcare and activities that go on for families during those vacation weeks. So I'm not sure where the superintendents may be in terms of their conversations with it. I mean, I think it's definitely worth a conversation, but I think you'd really want to get some momentum, both from the Milford community and some of the surrounding communities too.
Did you ever try to book an air flight that week?
Yes.
It's
No, I
like
don't,
3
because why
times
would you?
greater.
Right. Well,
Yeah,
than
it
the
is.
week
I
after.
think
you know?
one of the things, Bob, also, I think that we would need to, I think it's important that we want to make sure that we poll on that. One of the great parts about Milford is we have so many teachers that live in Milford. Many that live in Milford and also teach in Milford, but we also have many that live in Milford and teach in other communities. So one thing that we would have to make sure that we balance with that is I live in Milford, I teach in Northborough, and they may not, Northborough may choose a different,
All right,
may choose a
not
different
sure,
piece. Now, all of a sudden, I've got kids that are in school when I'm out of school, and kids that are out of school when I'm in school, and what do I do with them? So I think that goes to that childcare piece, but I think it's worth asking the question, and, you know, certainly getting some public opinion. If you wanna start to put together a draft of a poll,
Sure.
So sort of a questionnaire.
Yep.
And certainly bring it to the next meeting, we can talk about that.
Happy to do that. Very good. So, other than that, barring that exploration for the following calendar year, if I could ask the committee to vote this calendar, and then we can get this published on our website and get it out to everyone, so they can plan for the next school year. I'd appreciate that.
Take a motion from Mike, second from Patrick. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes, unanimous in favor.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. You're not done yet.
No,
You
am I
keep
up
going,
again?
Dr. Trump.
I don't know if I can take notes and do this at the same time. I'm doing my best.
We have a
I'm
PhD
failing.
now.
Yeah, but I'm
You
failing.
should.
I'm failing as secretary.
Well, I hope not.
I was just elected.
So let's move on to the report of the superintendent of schools. You have a Woodland update for us?
Yes, so in front of you, at your places, and for public who may be watching this, it is already posted on our website. So if you went onto the Milford Public Schools website and you were to go to the Woodland Project tab on the left-hand side of the page, about halfway down, what I'm gonna just review quickly here is actually already on the page. So you can watch that at home or at some future time, check that out. It is available. And also, Mr. Chairman, our meeting agenda is posted on the website. It's been posted.
Thank you.
Okay, so we took care of that from the last meeting. My thanks to Mrs. Bullock for that. You have the first one is Plan 1. I think you have it in the same order I do. You have this one first, the site plan.
Yeah.
So this was just approved. There's going to be some modifications. This was just approved last night. The school building committee met yesterday evening. And there's some discussion about, if you recall from earlier drawings of this, there was a shared bus-car lane coming into the property, and that had some concern from the Massachusetts School Building Authority, also from the fire department, police department, and ourselves here about the intersection of cars and buses. So this now represents, the green is a car drop-off zone. So the cars are coming off of North Vine. These spaces here would basically be visitor spaces, or parents could park in there, drop off, walk their child. But this is a car drop-off zone. The yellow lines coming in is a bus only zone, which is large enough to queue up all of our buses, particularly at the end of the day when we're queuing up to leave. They can all fit in that. There's a sidewalk that would go all around there. The red lines shows it's a paved walker path. So leading out from the school, you can see that they go to North Vine Street on two ends. There was some question that came up last night. I left the meeting around 8 o'clock, so I'm not sure what the final resolve was. I'm sure I'll see it on the plan redesign. But if you're looking at the map if you're at the main entry, you're coming out to the right, like you're headed toward that blue parking lot. There was some question whether or not we wanted to have all that additional paved walkway going there. The purpose that would serve is if the faculty parking, the 130 space parking lot there, would allow them really a walkway to get to the school, or if you had an event happening on the weekend, people might choose to just take that sort of closest path to the gym entrance. But again, I don't know how the discussion finally panned out last night on that. But this is the site plan that's been developed. You may notice that the soccer field is in the upper left corner is repositioned. It had been going the other way, and now it's changed direction to allow, just because of the wetlands and some of the setback adjustments that were made. Any questions on it's pretty self-explanatory, but on the site plan? Joe?
Just one question on the parent drop-off.
Yes.
Does that break out into 2 lanes, or is it 1 lane that's going to loop around?
There's actually a 3rd lane in the middle. So I guess theoretically you could just drive up that middle lane and park in those spaces. So that lane is a single lane that would loop. The way it's shown there is a green lane that would
It's
loop
meant the
around.
exterior to queue and then the interior to be motion.
Right.
So with the increase in the number of students at the school, there's obviously going to be more parents dropping off. But there's enough space there where it's not going to queue back onto Vine Street.
The traffic study, from what I recall, indicates it's able to accommodate that increase.
Is
Well,
it
I think-
not in
I
the
think more
budget
of what
to build
Joe's
that
asking
future parking space?
Is, Joe, you're kind of asking
Oh,
is, can one car come one direction, one car can they pass each other in this lane? Is that what you're saying? In other words, somebody doesn't come in.
Can
they do this?
So the intent is to have the exterior be open for queuing, right? So that green line is essentially the queue, and then the white line to the interior is meant for car circulation, so cars should be able to circulate out while there are cars queuing there. That's the intent.
Okay.
Correct.
All right.
So today when you go to Woodland to drop off, it's a single lane when you
Right.
first pull in, but then when you go into the bus path, it breaks off into 2 lanes, so you get more cars queued there and you have more space.
You could do that here. We don't think we need to. We think we have enough
Okay.
queuing space. It could be done, but then to Patrick's point, you lose that sort of free lane in the middle. That's just the sort of the speed lane, if you will.
Okay, all right.
It's not the queuing lane. Don, you had a question about the.
I was just wondering if the budget allowed for that future parking space to be built now, with the project. Is there a reason why it was slated?
Yeah, there is. The reason why that's labeled future parking spaces, one, the MSBA came back as part of their report back to us that they wanted to see, they thought the parking we had proposed originally was overkill. And they wanted to see less paved space on the site. That said, however, we may choose down the road, we reserve that right as a district to pave it if we choose to pave it. But MSBA had some concerns, so we're showing this, reflecting this to show MSBA that we're really doing what they said. But this is right now will be the existing Woodland School, so we can't do anything with that anyway until Woodland School the existing school is leveled. So once that school is gone, but we're gonna set that space up with drainage, so it's designed really to be a parking lot without having to go back and retrofit that later. So from the very beginning, we're gonna construct it, whether or not we need to do it, it will be designed to accommodate. And then once the school's gone, we can decide whether we're gonna pave it, or, part of that space, or we're gonna, or not. So we have time to consider that, and it's still within the project budget. I don't know if that answers your question completely. Okay. All right.
Bob, I just have one question for you.
Yes.
So I'm thinking through with spring soccer quickly approaching in about 48 hours, and just thinking about when the soccer field is ultimately done. I think somewhat to Donnie's point of the extra spaces, but I'm also thinking 60 spaces is a lot, but also I know that this 130 spaces could potentially, is there going to be some sort of walkway or an egress that when parents are parking in the 130 space parking space, that they can somehow get to that Woodland space? And I realize that this isn't to scale and it may look a lot further than it really is.
Right.
But just, we're not sending them through the woods to get to that field, are we?
No, there's a
Okay.
sidewalk that would get them there, all the way up. It's difficult to show you without.
And that's fine,
But there is a sidewalk that could get you there, and very likely, where it says future parking, that will very likely, the tenor of the school building committee, from last night, there's every
That's gonna be
indication
parking.
it's gonna be
It's
parking.
gonna be parking, got it.
That's
Okay.
gonna be parking.
But for right now, we're reserving the right to have that not be parking. But
Correct.
to Patrick's point,
It's gonna be parking.
it's gonna be parking.
We're reserving the right, that being said, it'll be a parking space, got it.
Yes.
Okay. Any other members have questions for Bob or anything?
And then just the remaining slides that you have. This is, again, this is all a work in progress. As you know, we're in the design development phase of the school project. And so what you're gonna start to see here is the school design itself come to life. This is also on our website.
Bob, I didn't get a copy of that.
Oh, I'm sorry, it's not in your packet.
Thank you.
Jen, do you have one?
Well, no, I just took Patrick's.
Okay, you can actually take one. You can take
Bob,
one.
I have all this, I don't need it.
No, oh,
I
okay,
gave mine,
okay.
yeah.
So the typical classroom elevations, you can, again, as you go through it, you can see sort of how the blowout designs for the, it's really nothing different than we've talked about, but now you're just seeing the more granular detail of how that looks. So, just exciting to see it come to life.
It really is.
So I thought
It's
you'd be,
beautiful. It's-
yeah. So again, you can peruse that, and certainly, none of this is final yet. This all has to go before the school building committee. But if you have input or feedback you'd like to give us, by all means, we're happy to share that, or Patrick can be happy to share that with the school building committee.
That's great. Is there anything that we can be doing as a committee, or at this point, just sit
No,
back and?
I think at this point, you get to just sit back at this point. Yeah, just for a little bit. The working group is not sitting back, and the school building committee is certainly not sitting back. They're meeting more frequently than ever. But now it's really up to the design team to go back and bring these designs, to scale and to begin bidding out some of the jobs, getting the early bids out. So we're working with Shamit and preparing the site. So for the next, because it'll quiet down a bit for the committee's involvement for the next 6 months or so.
It's essentially, from now until October, it's gonna be a flurry of activity for the working groups and for the school building committee to get all the pieces in place, and then once those pieces are in place, then it's construction project. So then we probably pick up a bigger role, I would say.
I think it's a great improvement to break up those cars and buses.
Yeah, it really
Huge.
was a necessary, there's a lot of considerable debate, as you can imagine, at the school building committee.
No.
I don't wanna say it's the Pacanelli anymore. No, he did well, and he asked some great questions. Any questions, or anything else on this? Okay, very good. I'll continue to keep the committee briefed, of course.
Bob, my only ask, I think next time for the benefit of the viewing public, is that we put this on PowerPoint and just show it so that
Oh,
way
sure.
those that do watch, you can
It's
have the
just-
opportunity, I realize it's on the
It's just so hard to
website.
see, even on a
Yep.
PowerPoint because of all the detail, but I would encourage people to go online and.
Yeah, I agree, but I think, let's at least give the opportunity.
Sure.
Thanks. Next item on the agenda is a report of the Assistant Superintendent of Business and Human Resources. Kathy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have 4 warrants this evening that do require the school committee's approval. The first warrant is in the amount of $265,519.35.
Okay. Take a motion from Patrick, second from Joe. All in favor?
The second warrant is in the amount of $14,887.75.
Okay, take a motion from Michael, second from Jen. All in favor? Unanimous?
The third warrant is in the amount of $194,603.16.
Take a motion from Joe. Take a second from Michael. And all in favor? Motion passes unanimous.
And the last warrant is in the amount of $42,030.90.
Take a motion from Donnie, second from Patrick. All in favor? And unanimous in favor.
And the committee also has a list of the latest appointments and hire from our last meeting. I do have a jury duty that does require a vote
There you go,
for,
Mr. Vice Chairman.
for Kelly Sabini, Stacy School for March 25th.
Take a motion for the vote from Michael. Shaw.
Who moved on?
That would be Michael.
Okay,
Yes.
okay.
To take the motion from that, Mr. Vice Chairman, and second from Mr. Marias. All in favor?
I have to tell you, I know that every time that we come here, we have a jury duty. It's a relatively small organization, our school's 350 people. I will say, and this was shocking to me, my wife, who is a school teacher in this district, has been called for jury duty twice. She's been employed in this district, once by the state and another time on the federal level. So I think they target teachers, actually, so.
Patrick, you were in law school. Do you think you could work on that for us?
Yeah, I don't really, no.
Yeah, you probably want to be on the good side of the Bar
is-
Association right now.
It is a constitutional right and privilege to serve on the
Yes,
jury.
it is. Most people are chomping at the bit, too. All right, Kathy, anything else?
I also have a course reimbursement request in the amount of $4,012.80, which does require a vote.
Take a motion from Jen, second from Mr. Calorie. All in favor? Unanimous in favor.
And I also have an out-of-state field trip request for the kindergarten classes at Brookside to go to Roger Williams Zoo, which of course is in Providence, Rhode Island. And that is happening on May 30th, and this also requires school committee approval as it is out-of-state travel.
Excellent. Take a motion from Patrick, second from Dawn. All in favor? Motion carries.
Wonderful zoo.
It's amazing zoo, and they always have such a good time.
Who wouldn't?
Of course, I kind of want to go.
Right.
Uh-oh.
And that's it this evening. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you so much. That's our next school committee meeting. We're going on a field trip. All right, we'll continue on with the report of the Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum, Instruction, and Assessment. Mr. McIntyre.
Great, thank you. I want to update the committee on some of our key projects and orient the new committee members on the key curriculum initiatives across the district. Plus, Mike Walsh has been begging me to do a PowerPoint. So I said, give the people what they want.
Absolutely.
I have.
It's got pictures too.
I do, there's pictures on this one.
The picture were for you, Donnie.
I'm gonna one-up you next time.
Okay,
You're
good
not
luck.
coming back with music again, are you?
Some of our key initiatives are the mentor program and updating that, curriculum team leader meetings, curriculum mapping, response to intervention in the tiered system of support, district determined measures, Common Core and Park, building data analysis capacity across the district, and leadership development. And these are things that I've been talking about all year, so a lot of this is just a review and an update. The mentor program, for the mentor program, this year one of the big shifts to the mentor program was the introduction of presentations and panel discussions. We presented the following topics to new teachers: communicating with parents, classroom management, special education, RTI, assessment, data analysis, and differentiated instruction, ELL, and WIDA. For each of these sessions, either a group of veteran teachers, master teachers, administrators, directors would present on these key topics and would allow the new teachers to engage in the topics, ask questions, and talk about kind of basically how we do things here in Milford and how it connects to what's happening more broadly. And I think it's been very successful for a first-year program. At the end of the year, we're going to review the whole mentoring program and really look at other ways to focus. And one area we're going to look at is additional technology training up front for the new teachers, because we have a number of systems that every new teacher has to learn, and there's a pretty big learning curve for new teachers between X2, some of the online curriculum assessments, and some of the different hardware and software that teachers use at various grade levels.
Kevin, just a quick question for you on that. With this program, and I believe we brought it up at the time, do we include teachers that are just changing buildings?
We do.
There's
There's a whole hierarchy of kind of requirements and expectations for each type of new hire, whether it's a shift in position, but we open it up to anybody. These particular meetings are open to anybody. Some folks are required to attend them, some folks are just invited.
Okay.
The curriculum team meets each month in the high school to address curriculum instruction and assessment issues. There's representation across grades, school levels, and departments. On this slide, I've just listed some of the key topics the curriculum team has addressed or is currently wrestling with. As you can see, we're examining topics from the Common Core alignment to common assessments to writing across content areas and kind of everything in between. Before the academic year concludes, I'm going to share with you some of the actual department work that's being done and what some of the priorities are for, say, the math department, the English department, so you get a sense of what kind of key projects they're working on currently and what the plans are as kind of a go forward, just to give you kind of a little more of a detailed picture. And I'll be doing that over the next couple of months. In terms of curriculum mapping, we're continuing to review and revise maps to reflect the 2010 standards for English language arts and mathematics. One of the big pushes is to incorporate writing across the curriculum, and to one of the big shifts with the Common Core is that every teacher is a teacher of literacy. So every teacher is teaching reading and writing. One of the things that Carrie has done with her high school team is every department has a district-determined measure and assessment that's writing-based. So everybody's doing some form of writing at the high school across all content areas. And then we're also, and I talked about this at I think 2 meetings ago, we're exploring the use of Edwin Teaching and Learning to potentially house curriculum maps in 2014-15 in a digital format. Response to intervention was was one of the key professional development focus this year. And I want to thank Patty Kelly for kind of putting a lot of that and driving a lot of that work. We've seen evidence in our walkthroughs across the year of the workshop model in practice, the use of learning targets, which are kind of focused classroom objectives or I can statements, and providing actionable and descriptive feedback to improve student performance. District determined measures. This is the next phase of educator evaluation. We've taken a collaborative approach where departments, teachers, curriculum team leaders, and administrators have now identified more than 150 measures that we'll be potentially using next year as the next part of this phase. The thing we're really emphasizing is it's about the conversations around those assessments more than it is kind of where the students fall. It's your analysis of how they're doing and kind of developing that plan to get them to that next level. And I just want to show you, I'm just going to pull out of this for 1 second. This is part of the spreadsheet that we're going to submit to the Department of Education. And it's well over 150 right now. But if you kind of scroll across, one of the things we've really tried to do, if you see that last column where it says, I think it's 4 down, assessment already in use and aligned, we're trying to use and leverage as many assessments that we're already currently using to kind of fit this program rather than recreate the wheel for this program. So we don't want to create assessments just to meet the needs of the Department of Education. We're trying to use things that we found effective over time that kind of connect with this particular program. The Common Core, which has become a dirty word in the United States lately. The Common Core in Massachusetts is really nothing new. These standards have been in place since 2010, and we've been actually working with these standards for probably the past 3 or 4 years. So the maps that are in place now have been works in progress once these 2010 standards were approved. But that being said, we're continuing to review the maps and the taught curriculum for rigors. For rigor, we're looking at the rigor of text that are being used, what types of writing we're using, what kinds of assessments we're using, what are those general expectations that are happening across classrooms, across schools, across grade levels. One of my goals next year for professional development time and common planning time is to provide opportunities for teachers to further focus these maps, talk about the standards, and kind of really hone those lesson plans during that, again, professional development time and common planning time to really kind of work with that. These key shifts, and I've talked about these before, but it's really one of the big shifts for the ELA literacy standards is there's an equal emphasis on literary and informational texts. Reading, writing, and speaking is grounded in evidence from texts. Writing in response to one or more texts. So even students at as early as 3rd grade are being asked to take multiple sources and synthesize information, which is a big step in terms of expectations. That used to be kind of reserved for the AP document-based questions if anybody took the AP exams back when they were in high school. Writing in response to one or more texts, regular practice reading complex texts, and using academic language when you are responding to any kind of a prompt. And then for mathematics, it's really a focus on fewer standards. Conceptual understanding of topics is the foundation. Students are really expected to extend their knowledge to real-life modeling and application. Not only do you know the concepts, but can you apply them? Can you take a situation and apply a particular concept? PARC, we've we're fully engaged in field testing right now at Woodland, Stacy, and East using the paper and pencil version of the park test. One of the things that I'm going to do when all of our park testing is concluded is we're going to kind of do focus groups and get a sense of student experiences, MCAS compared to park, teacher experiences, MCAS compared to park, and just get a sense of what the expectations are, or what the experiences were of the students who took the exam. The computer-based field test, which is taking place at the high school on May 6th and 7th, we're preparing for that, and that's been a huge undertaking. It sounds like it would be kind of a simple thing to basically test about 100 students because we do that kind of thing all the time. But the level of technology preparation and the level of training that needs to occur for just the teachers who are proctoring and even the students taking the tests is pretty significant. A couple things that we've learned from this process already is that park, unlike MCAS, is timed versus untimed. The MCAS is untimed. You basically have the full day to complete the MCAS. Where the park, it's about a 2-hour window to complete the test. And there's some extra time built in depending on the type of test, the type of session, and the grade level. But one of the things we're seeing is that your ability to type is going to be very important to your ability to respond to questions. And so we've really got to look at what kind of opportunities are we giving students to kind of build their typing skills, because we don't want a student not to get credit because they're not a very good keyboardist. Another piece is for the mathematics part in particular, there's an actual toolbar that comes down. So if you're doing a question that requires the use of a protractor, you kind of click on the little protractor icon, kind of drag it down and use the protractor on the screen. There's a ruler, there's all kinds of, there could be little pieces based on a particular question. And students really need to kind of learn how to use these tools. And again, we don't want anybody to miss a question because they aren't familiar with using a particular technology tool. Aside from the fact that we still need to build capacity to actually have enough computers and bandwidth and all these other things to kind of actually administer at full force. We could do a field test, no problem, but if we were to test all the 9th, 10th, and 11th graders at the high school, at this point, we like most high schools and even elementary schools and middle schools across the Commonwealth, districts in general, don't have the technological capacity to kind of pull this off. So for the foreseeable future, if we do go the park direction, we're going to be using paper and pencil. But we have to kind of start, if the state does move in that direction, we really have to start planning for things like how do we make students familiar with the tools well before they're using the online components of the test? How do we build keyboarding skills for students? Because again, we don't want somebody who's typing 5 words a minute but is very, very bright to get penalized because they can't get everything typed on the page in the time allotted.
Question for you, Kevin, on that. To that end, are there or do you foresee there being grant monies that will be available, or grant programs that will be available to help support that? One, and then the second part of the question is, so we'll paint the rosiest path. We all of a sudden, poof, we have a grant or some money that's available to us that we would be able to. Have we thought about capacity-wise from just physical space that we'd be able to place those computers?
I don't think the physical space would be an issue if we could build the infrastructure to do it, because there's a number of different directions you can go in terms of devices. There's talk right now that they're going to have, at either the state or the federal level, a similar process to the Mass Building Association, where you would actually apply for technology grant money and go through a process and get technology grant money to build your technology infrastructure. So that's been bantered about. I don't know if they have the funds to kind of cover everybody across the Commonwealth, because there's probably maybe a couple dozen districts out of the 350 or 60 districts in Massachusetts that are kind of at the vanguard of technology. But the vast majority of districts are somewhere in the middle, and I think kind of like Milford is, where they have technology, but not necessarily enough technology to test every student in the building within like a 4 or 5 day period.
Remind me again, Kevin, what date are we projecting doing the switch over to park?
It could be as early as next year, where we'd shift to park, but that wouldn't be the computer-based version of park. That'd be the paper and pencil-based version of park. For the high school students, the 10th graders, they're going to have MCAS for the next 2 years as the graduation requirement minimally right now.
So then the paper and pencil version we could do, as long as
I'm
we can
guessing
do
for at
until we
least
get
4 or
the
5
technology in
years.
place.
Yeah, and I think the folks at the state and the federal government realize that there just isn't that capacity across the state or across the country where people can immediately flip a switch and say, we're all going to take computer-based testing. Aside from the fact that I think there's some teaching and some training that needs to happen for the students and for the teachers to make this kind of flow smoothly.
Yeah, it's it starts at third grade, correct? So will the third graders be doing this electronically, or will they always have the pencil and paper option?
Theoretically, they do it electronically, but there might be a writing component where they just, again, there's still a lack of clarity around a lot of these issues that we're starting to get some answers for, and the field test is demonstrating where some of the challenges are, which is one of the reasons you do a field test also. So you can kind of see what some of the implementation hurdles are.
And your obviously, I certainly appreciate the continued updates on that. The more we can make sure, I know that the folks that sometimes make the rules don't let reality slow them down. We seem to be an awfully big fan of unfunded mandates.
Absolutely.
At the state and federal level. So certainly, the more you can continue to be as vocal as possible.
And we're watching the debates that are occurring, because we will have to make a decision. And I don't know if there's a drop dead date at this point. If there is, I haven't seen it, for whether we choose to go MCAS or Park next year. I think they'll probably set that date, post the field testing wrapping up, getting some feedback from the districts. And there's debates happening all over the country around this at the school level, in the state houses, across the board. So it's something we're definitely watching closely.
Excellent.
Kevin, I'm very pleased at the care and the caution you're using in taking steps to address the anxiety that's occurring with this park test. I think for those in the know, in the state of Massachusetts, the park word has more impact and has more potential detriment right now than Common Core does. I think that other states have done a poor job of managing Common Core. Massachusetts has done a much better job. As I said when we were selected to pilot this park program, one of my main concerns was looking back to what happened when the MCAS test rolled out in Massachusetts and all the anxiety that happened around
Absolutely.
there, and the miscommunications and the challenges of launching that. One of my biggest concerns was finding a way to transition to this, and I just want you to know, and I didn't expect anything less in the year and a half that I've known you. I didn't expect anything less than the care that you've spoken of so far. But this is something that we need to stay on top of and be very, very careful with. This is putting strain on our teachers, this is putting strain on our students, and ultimately it's strain on our community. So, this is something that I'm glad to hear that you treat this with the level of seriousness that this committee does. And again, I wouldn't expect anything less, but the updates are good, and the more frequently we get them, frankly, I think the better off we are.
And I appreciate that. And I think, and I agree with you 100%. I think the Common Core piece, the standards were so similar to what we were doing in Massachusetts already. I mean, there were some shifts and jumps, but we were taking more baby steps than giant steps in that regard. But the park test is a big change. And MCAS has been very successful. And if you look at Massachusetts' performance across international measures, we do very well.
Yeah, I think the more we can continue to we put an awful lot on our teachers, and they do a phenomenal job. And we've got so many students and so many teachers working so hard to make sure that we do this. I appreciate, to echo Patrick's comments, your continued care and ongoing communication. The more we can be very clear and transparent of what we're seeing and how we're addressing it in a proactive manner rather than a reactive manner, I think we'll continue to, as much as possible, ease some of the concerns.
And that's the goal, because we don't want people anxious about this. I think it's something we can do very well as a district, but I think we're going to walk into it with both eyes wide open. That being said, next up is building data analysis capacity. We're really trying to kind of continue to develop the culture of data-driven instruction in the Milford Public Schools. The picture on this slide is actually from a data wall at Brookside Elementary School. And what they're doing here is they're charting student reading growth over time. They're following a reading assessment. And this allows the principal to engage in discussions with teachers about progress, what instructional strategies are being used, what types of interventions are being used. And they're actually updating the wall on kind of a quarterly or regular basis as the assessments are coming in. So they're kind of tracking students moving through the process. And I think this picture was probably taken, I think, in September, but it's tracking kind of the reading levels of the first and second K1 and 2 students, actually. At Woodland, and this is just another example of some of the good things that are going on, the data team engaged in an action research project around writing that's really leading to some really rich discussions around the amount of writing that's happening, the types of writing, the expectations around writing, what are different ways you can look to assess writing. And these types of discussions, I think, are a great type of professional development because it was teacher-generated, and the teachers are engaging in these discussions, and they're really looking at their practice critically, and it's going to only improve their practice. And these are the types of things that we want to come out of these data teams, and we're seeing kind of great things like this happening across the district. And again, to your point, Scott, it just speaks to the very high quality of the teachers we have here in the Milford Public Schools. And then the last piece is leadership development, and this takes on a number of different. There's a number of different pieces to this. One of the key parts of my role is to ensure that there are opportunities for leadership development for not only building administrators, but the curriculum team leaders, department heads, and teachers. And some of this happens through the monthly walkthroughs and engaging teachers and administrators in conversations about practice. Another thing is just I meet with the principals on a monthly basis, and we work through issues as well as the assistant principals. Bob runs a leadership team meeting that I engage in, and that's a fantastic forum for discussing some of these big issues that we talk about here at the school committee on a regular basis. Professional development opportunities for everyone, and again, developing these data teams and having these curriculum team meetings to really kind of build that capacity to kind of keep moving us forward in a good direction. In terms of next steps, again, we're going to review the park field test experience and see how it was from the student perspective, the teacher perspective, and the building perspective. We're going to align assessment grids based on recommended changes from teachers and curriculum team leaders at different levels. We're going to continue to develop goals for our instructional improvement or data teams. Our next phase of the district determined measures process is to identify high, moderate, and low educator impact for each district determined measure. Create data collection plans for those measures, plan time for vertical meetings and conversations for 2014-15. At the last curriculum team meeting, our CTLs had an opportunity to meet vertically, K through 12, and a lot of great things came out of those meetings in terms of alignment, assessment. It just started a lot of good conversations and a number of really good projects. Again, we're in the process of developing the professional development plan for the 2014-15 school year. We want to clearly identify the goals for the curriculum team, and some of that's coming right from the departments. We're going to kind of set pretty clear departmental goals for the direction everybody wants to go in and we need to go in. Again, we're going to review the mentoring program at the end and incorporate additional changes for 14-15. Identifying key curriculum and assessment priorities by department and grade level and creating action plans. And then continue to review the rigor and writing expectations in the curriculum maps and the talk curriculum. So those are really kind of the big picture key goals in the direction. But I'm very happy with the work that's happening in the schools. The things the teachers are doing, the curriculum team leaders are doing are really fantastic. So, my hat's off really to them, and I applaud all the hard work they've been doing.
Patrick?
Scott, at a future meeting, I think, after we administer this park test, I'd like to see a sort of a detailed breakdown on how the test went, looking at the effect on teachers, teacher strain, effect on students, classroom strain, leading up to it all. I would like to sort of encapsulate the park and just get a presentation, detailed information on how that rollout went so we can talk about it. I think this is something that we need to keep an eye on. And I know the administration will, and I think we need to as well.
Yeah, I know that there's some park exams going on this week. Some of that administration is going on. So if you could, for a future meeting, we'll make sure that we get that on the agenda. I would make sure we would include logistics of just everything from how were the students, what was the attention span, what was the length of time, to did the teachers have the supplies they needed in order to be able to do that. So I think a pretty comprehensive breakdown. Great idea, Patrick.
I'm thinking probably like mid-May, just because we'll wait till the computer-based version goes off.
Whenever you're ready.
Yep.
And it's correct,
Yep.
Let's not do ready, fire, aim.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, perfect.
I don't think there's a rush. It's not a rush piece. It's make sure we got all the data
Absolutely.
first. Excellent.
Kevin,
Don.
last year we implemented the summer program for the ELA students, right? So I thought that was one of the best things that we've done. Are there any conversations about any additional programs that we could put in place, or do you know of anything from other communities that we could be taking a look at to help shrink that time for the kids to, evolve into a normal classroom?
Yeah, Jen Lancaster and I have been doing a lot of work with the principals and a lot of the teachers on looking for ways to kind of increase the ability of a newcomer to access the curriculum more quickly. And we're looking at a couple models at the elementary schools all the way up through the high school. Some of it we're going to be implementing next year. Some of it's probably 2 years out in terms of what we can kind of put together. It may make better sense, so I'm not talking out of school, to kind of come with kind of some of the ideas maybe at the next meeting or the following meeting and kind of break it down. Like, these are some of our plans for the ELL program, and these are some of the directions we're going based on this information.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Any other questions? All right, thank you, Kevin.
All right, thank you.
All right, we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is new business. Any member have any new business that I'd like to bring?
I think it's covered under new business. We had a conversation last week. I've been speaking to some representatives from the MASC, the Massachusetts Association of School Committees, with Pat Carrera, who's our field rep, and Glenn Kuchar, who's the director of the MASC. And this is a program that we subscribe to as a committee. We're members of the MASC, and historically we've leveraged them for new committee member training. They have a program called Charting the Course, which is extremely informative, and I certainly encourage both of you guys to enroll in that as soon as possible. I think you'll need a username and a password, and you can work through that with Melissa. But there's so much more that they offer that historically we really haven't tapped into. They're a very valuable resource. They do a lot in terms of professional development. So not only do they have these courses for new committee members coming on board, but they have courses for chair people as well. But then they also have courses on things like the budget, establishing policy, negotiating contracts. They have a number of different workshops that we could take advantage of. In addition to that, they also do a lot in terms of policy support as well. So they have template policies that you could leverage. They have a number of additional resources where you can identify best practices from other communities throughout the state as well. And Scott mentioned the unfunded mandates. They're an extremely powerful voice for all the communities throughout the Commonwealth to advocate for some of the things that we need from a legislative perspective, whether it be funding or additional resources. So I think there's someone that we definitely want to partner with a little bit more, and they're willing to come in and provide a presentation to the committee. They threw a couple of dates out at us. They were looking at potentially doing something on either April 15th, which is the Tuesday before our next committee meeting, or May 1st, which is the committee meeting after that. So I didn't know if you guys wanted to take a look at your calendars, and then maybe we can coordinate it through Melissa and let her know if any of those dates would work, and we could have them come in and meet with us and give us a presentation. They said presentation take about 40 minutes to go through, depending upon Q&A, but something we might want to consider doing.
Any other questions? Thank you, Joe. So I think that maybe something at the pleasure of the committee of maybe making as a piece that's available to the committee. I wouldn't necessarily say probably during a school committee meeting. May not necessarily be the best time, because I think it may be something where we want committee members to be able to ask questions. Certainly would need to be a posted meeting. But maybe we do it as an optional meeting in addition to maybe on the first, if the committee would be open for that. Get it posted as a meeting on maybe that Tuesday.
Well,
So the Tuesday, the 15th, April 15th.
Yep. So it's a little quicker.
Yeah.
But I think also one thing that I think would be very helpful in that, and thank you, Joe, for reaching out to them and getting that information. One thing I think that would be helpful, especially for new members, is maybe even getting like a welcome packet, like a course selection of kind of and some course descriptions if they have something similar to that. Sounds like they may have that of, here are some of the courses that are available, and as part of that professional development, we can kind of be able to understand that and get that out to the committee members as well. If they have something like that, I think that'd be great.
Yeah, they have that on the website, so I can work with Melissa to download that and send it out to the committee. And she can also send you the link to the website as well. So you can do a little bit of research before they come in and be prepared to ask some questions and really figure out how we could benefit from this relationship with them a little bit more. So definitely make the meeting that much more productive if we can do some research ahead of time.
What time do they want to come on the 15th, Joe?
They said they're available anytime after 6, so whatever works best for the committee.
So you'll let us know then when you set it.
Yeah, well, if you could check your calendars, make sure that date works for you, and if it does, then I'll reach back out to them and confirm the date and time.
I've already got a meeting that night, but I can change it if I have to.
So why don't we do this? Because I don't know if everybody's got their calendar right on them right now. Why don't we do this? If Bob, can you have Melissa send the note out to the committee, and just do some polling on what dates might work best for them
Yes.
for being able to do something like that.
Thank you.
You can work with Melissa tomorrow on it. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Joe.
Thanks, Joe.
Any other new business? All right. Seeing none, we'll move on to the next piece, which is old business. Any members have any old business?
So Joe and I had a meeting today, so we
Okay.
got some progress that we're
Yeah.
working on that document that we're working on. I don't think it's anything we're ready to present tonight,
Okay.
but I think that I feel good about the fact that we're going in the right direction now, so thank you for being patient with me, Joe, I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. And it's something we can discuss with the MASC as well, because they do a lot of those types of workshops on self-assessments, so we could definitely have a conversation with them as well.
I have a comment, Mr. Chairman. What about, we've got a couple of policy positions we've got to fill, right?
Mm-hmm. So we actually have a couple of subcommittees. One of the things that I'd actually like to take a look at is what are the subcommittees that still exist out there?
Okay.
What's needed? What's mandated? And who are the current members? Because I think
Okay.
there's actually a few positions that we need to take a look at. Obviously, I wanted to I know the policy subcommittee in particular, as I think I'm currently the only sitting member that's currently on that. But with 2 new members coming on and having been elected, not quite 48 hours, actually just over 48 hours ago, wanted to give them the opportunity to come in. It's something that I'll be taking a look at in the coming weeks.
Okay.
And I think maybe at the next, either the next meeting or a meeting following that. Our last meeting, as far as anything that's due, there's nothing that's eminent as far as from a compliance perspective that needs to be either voted on or do anything. Okay, so we've got a little bit of time to be able to do that as we kind of reassemble our group here. So, excellent question.
So, to Mike's point though, where it is policies that we obviously need to focus on, I had a few questions. Bob, about 3 months ago in this meeting, I came in and I asked for a report to be put together that you had tasked Kerry, I believe, to go around to the
Cell phones.
Yeah, I mean, that was months ago.
We
Haven't
met
heard
on
anything
that, remember Christine, we met with that. We are at the point where we're looking to find a responsible use policy as opposed to like a banning and that sort of thing. We had a meeting it's at the policy subcommittee level to bring that forward to the school committee, but the policy subcommittee is.
Right.
All right.
Is
Well,
in
I was
flux.
under the
It's changed.
impression that Kerry was gonna present to us what
She certainly
she
can come in and
found
do
from
that.
the other towns or districts, and I don't know, just kinda went quiet, so I just
It's
wanted to
actually
bring
not
that
been
up
quiet.
under
We-
old business.
We have the
where-
information,
Yeah.
and we can certainly have Kerry come in. I actually met that night with, Kerry was there, and also we had Noah Collins, who wanted representation from the middle school, to make sure that we're pushing this
Yeah.
down also to the middle school level. So there's been information collected. Kerry's had that task to put together what is a responsible use policy.
Yeah.
To bring forward to the policy subcommittee. If you prefer to have, the committee prefer to have her come and present to the full committee,
Right.
ahead of that, we can do that too.
Oh, yeah, with the end of the school year coming, summer break, I mean, whatever we do, I'd like to have it in place before we leave. So if we can fast track this,
Okay.
for the next meeting, and just bring this back up, and for the new members, just so you know, I mean, I brought this up a few months ago, and the reason being was, I had several teachers come up to me complaining that kids were just outright abusing it, it was impossible for them to even control a classroom in a lot of cases. So it's really just to support them and foster a good learning environment for the kids, and just trying to find some sort of policy that can really help the teachers command their classroom and have a good, healthy environment for the kids to learn. So yeah, if we could fast track that.
Okay, so
The other
we'll put it
thing
on the
that
next
I,
agenda then, or do you have-
Yep, I think we can.
yeah.
put
The
that
other
on.
thing I had asked a couple weeks ago, I had called you about the basketball program. You said you were gonna reach out to Richie and find out what we're gonna do with the coaching position and whether or not that was gonna be filled before the end of the year.
Yeah,
Did you have that
the
conversation
posting of
with him?
assignments for coaches, Kathy, when does that happen for, we did talk about that.
Yeah.
This is for basketball.
Richie is putting his posting together as we speak. We asked him to do that a few weeks ago, so
Yeah.
that's in the works.
All right. I hadn't heard anything, and I had a couple parents reach out, so. And then the other piece is, I think I sent you an email last week around the lice policy to reach out to Jerry Moody about liability. Do you recall getting that? I
No.
wasn't even 100% sure if I sent it, so I'll double
Okay.
check, but.
That one I don't remember.
I thought I did. I think it was in one of the
About
emails that I
about
sent out.
liability?
But I was
Well,
looking for
you
some
just tell
sort
me
of a
now and I can
response.
follow
I mean, it sounds really low level and in the weeds, but you know how with the cell phones, one of the policies
this
that you
is-
were afraid that, or somebody sued the town because there was a phone that was broken when it was returned back to the child, whether it was broken or not.
You mentioned this, and then if
Yeah.
someone were to get something and they had to pay for treatment, would that school be?
Right, yeah,
Okay,
that's
this-
it, yeah.
Yeah, no, you did
So I
mention that to
never
me.
heard anything back on
Well,
it.
again, that went back, it was sort of brought back to the policy subcommittee to discuss again, so I kind of compartmentalized it there.
Well, if you can get an answer, because I think it's a good talking
Yeah,
point.
I can follow up with
right?
Jerry separately on
On
the liability piece.
Yeah, I think
Alright.
that makes sense.
Sure.
And then,
Yeah, you said that,
yeah, and then the last piece on the old business was Mike and I had a meeting this week with the safety and security group that we're part of. And for the new members, just so you're aware of what we've done, in the last 2 years, Mike and I have sat on this subcommittee. And it's been great. It's really kind of grown. And Mike was even saying that, when we first started having these meetings, it was a lot about what's wrong with the facility, right? And, but now it's grown to include all the principals, assistant principals. It includes the facility director, technology, Bob, nursing, and the frontline secretaries.
Is it
And the hall
Milford
monitors.
Police Department as well.
Yeah,
participates
and the
in that?
Milford Police Department. So collectively, we get together and say, probably be an averaging really once a month, and collaborate. Matter of fact, each school now has its own little group that meets regularly to, uncover the needs of that school, and then it comes up to the meeting. So each principal, explains what their needs are that have been, discovered since the last meeting, and collectively as a group, we respond to it. Mike and I are there to support them from the school committee to make sure that they have all the resources, budget, whatever it is that they need to support the safety and security of the schools. It's been a tremendous program, so I just want to let everybody know that we did have a meeting the other day. A couple of great things that we're working on coming out of that. Mike, I don't know if you want to add
Bob, the
anything.
one thing that I'd like to ask is almost kind of what Donnie said about the other committee. It seemed to kind of fade away for a little bit, and I know it's difficult to get all those people together at the same time and commit to get them out of there at the same time. But if we could really try to, maybe you feel once a month is too much, but maybe, every 6 weeks or something, because there's a lot of good conversation, a lot of good ideas in that room, and you hate to have people get the feeling, I'm not gonna say anything because nothing's gonna change, or we haven't met in 3, you know what I mean?
Sure.
So if we could just get back, in line, meeting more frequently, and I know it's difficult to get everybody together, but I think it's, when you hear the conversations and the ideas that are coming out of that room,
Sure.
it's worth it.
I think this goes to what we were talking about earlier, which is, you'd asked about subcommittees. This is part of what I'd like to do over the next week or so is to sit down with Bob and have an opportunity to kind of take a look at what subcommittees still exist, and maybe as part of the reorganization as we're doing in this meeting, take a look at what subcommittees are still out there and make
Right.
sure that we've got activity to members
and the support so that we can get the scheduling done, to your point, Mike, so it's given the attention that's needed to be able to get the things accomplished that we need to get accomplished as a board and to support our children, the taxpayers, and certainly the teachers.
And just to give the listening community an idea of what we do in those meetings, other than just meet. And so some of the things that have come out of it are the double door entry for the community youth program, having the drop box so people aren't coming in and walking through. It's the red stickers in all the rooms, so if there ever was an emergency and the child was able to use their cell phone and call, or a teacher, they can explain exactly where they are. The radios that were given to the schools by the police department. Bob ran an incredible program. I mean, this is like one of the best ones in the state, if not the country, where we had like a mock event take place here that was really eye-opening, and that really got the principals and the assistant principals and the secretaries really starting to think about their jobs and the security of their schools, and really brought a lot of things to light. Things like just making sure the alarms are set up, the changing the IT infrastructure to support the security cameras, the additional security cameras. I mean, the list just goes on and on and on of what's transpired here in the last 2 years. And so I really got to take my hat off to Bob and his team, and special thanks to the police department for their involvement in their activity. But it's just been a great involvement here. And so again, thank you, Bob, and thank you, Milford Police Department, and everybody else's hard work on this.
Well, Donnie, I think another great idea that just came out of the last meeting, and they were saying in particular in the elementary schools, everybody forgets that if there is a situation, of course the classrooms go into a lockdown. Well, in every school, there's children out in the corridor, whether they're going to the restroom, whether they were heading to the principal's office, the nurse's office. They actually have run programs and designed them so that the children that are in the hallway know that if something happens, this is where they go. That there's another safe area for them to go, whether the door is marked. So it's all kinds of training from the elementary school all the way to the high school. If something happens within the school, you can't get back to your classroom, go to this area and this area of the school and you'll be safe. Just a great idea.
Thank you. Any other members have any old business? All right. We get to then take a motion for adjournment. Michael, yes. Second. Joe Calorie. All right. All in favor? All right, and that will be it for us this evening. And thank you, everyone. Thank you again. Welcome to the new members. Have a good night, everyone.